Foreign Relations for this kind invitation. After all, it's not every day I get to speak before an audience that has opposed nearly every policy I've ever helped advance in the White House. But let's be honest with each other. CFR has been uniformly anti-tariff and anti-Trump, and highly skeptical of an America First foreign policy that in truth is restoring our trade balance, rebuilding our industrial base, strengthening alliances like NATO, keeping, and as we just saw in the Middle East, negotiating the broader peace, and reasserting American sovereignty on the world stage. So let's ask ourselves the obvious question: how did the gulf between the Council on Foreign Relations and Trump world grow so wide? If you ask an AI search engine, try this, I did, it will tell you that the Council on Foreign Relations embodies an establishment, technocratic, and globalist ideology, one comfortably wedded with Wall Street and the multinational corporations that love open borders, cheap offshore labor, and an endless stream of subsidized imported goods. By contrast, the Trump administration since 2017 has stood squarely with the people who make and grow things in this country, our farmers and ranchers, our manufacturers and workers. What many in this audience dismiss as populism or nationalism simply means doing what's best for Americans first, protecting our jobs, communities, and the industrial base that anchors our national strength. History is indeed a harsh mistress here. Exhibit A, Council on Foreign Relations members helped negotiate NAFTA, which hollowed out the U.S. manufacturing base and triggered one of the largest illegal mass migrations in modern history. CFR analysts championed China's 2001 entry into the World Trade Organization, the single worst trade deal in American history. Then came the Trans-Pacific Partnership, forgive me here, Mike. CFR sold it as a geopolitical rampart against a rising China, yet the TPP would have surrendered much of America's manufacturing base, including our crucial auto parts sectors, to Japan, Vietnam, and ironically, ultimately, China itself. President Trump saw this very clearly and tore up the TPP on day one. I was standing right behind him on that beautiful day. This is what the Council on Foreign Relations has never understood. Weakening our industrial base has never strengthened our strategic position. It has only invited aggression. That's why in Trump world, we do not trade off economic security for national security. We believe economic security is national security. Memo to CFR: you cannot project power if you surrendered production. You cannot deter aggression when your supply chains run through your opponent's ports. You can't lead the free world if you can't make what the free world needs. Here's the second big problem with the Council's free trade dogma: the belief that the World Trade Organization somehow delivers fair trade as well. By its own rules, it does not. The WTO's most favored nation, MFN rule, says you must treat all partners the same. But what it doesn't say is that everyone must charge the same tariff. So what happens? Virtually every country in the world charges America far higher tariffs than we charge them. Germany, for example, charges us 10% on autos. We charge them 2.5%. The result, Bavaria sells us 7 cars for every one Detroit sends to Germany. That's the tilted playing field that the Council on Foreign Relations has defended, and the one President Trump has begun to level with his policy of reciprocal tariffs. Of course, the moment President Trump uses the T word, CFR waves the bloody shirt of what? You know what I'm about to say. Inflation and recession. But the record tells a very different story. Under President Trump's first term, inflation stayed low, growth was strong, and the American manufacturing base saw its first real revival in decades. Far from tariff chaos, Trump world had price stability and the strongest job market in modern history. Let's be clear. The inflation we're living with today did not come from tariffs. It came from Joe Biden's reckless fiscal expansion, his neglect of our supply chains, and a hopelessly politicized Federal Reserve that accommodated the Biden bonfire. That's why we in Trump will now hold the credibility high ground on tariffs. Exhibit B, during the Trump first term, and you all remember this, CFR's predictions of economic calamity widely missed the mark. The inflation and recession that you all forecast never came. The alliances you said would disintegrate have endured. Those wars you predicted for 4 peaceful years during the Trump first term. China, Iran, North Korea, and Russia kept their powder dry. Now, in his second term, President Donald John Trump is once again performing beautifully. And it's long past time for the Council on Foreign Relations to catch up with a world it refuses to understand. In closing, I come to you today not to quarrel, just to simply challenge respectfully the assumptions that still dominate this room. The world has changed. The American people have changed. The age of blind globalization is over. If the Council on Foreign Relations wants to be relevant, it must stop mistaking nationalism for isolationism, sovereignty for retreat, and strength for aggression. For ultimately, MAGA and the America First movement isn't about pulling back. It's about standing tall. It's about defending what we make, who we are, and the nation we love. Thank you. Right? Now, if the country that's being tariffed has to be in our market, or their economy is effectively going to collapse, what do you think they're going to do? They're going to eat the tariff. And that's why, Anna, we didn't observe all these alleged impacts. We didn't see, steel and aluminum did great during the first term. We didn't see any negative from that. So, I mean, if this were the first term, I'd have a hard time answering that question. It's easy now. It's like they were all wrong then, they're all wrong now.
Well, there was an estimate by Goldman Sachs, I think, earlier this week.
Who?
By Goldman Sachs.
Oh, come on, you're killing me. You're killing me, Larry. You know that commercial?
Already.
These people, come on, they have no credibility. I'm sorry, these people have no credibility.
Well,
Goldman Sachs, look, let's look at the business model. What's the business model? The business model is to get a bunch of investment that goes over to China. They've been doing that for 40 years. If this is the first term, like I could be sitting here with Gary Cohn, who I had to fight with every day in the friggin' White House till he left with his tail between his legs, saying the same stuff. It's not true.
Well, setting that aside, so are you seeing the effects in manufacturing from tariffs that you want to see?
Now, this is the other key thing you said, because you said this was really important. So let's go back to what the question you asked. Mm-hmm. It was like you noted that there was manufacturing jobs going down instead of descending.
Right.
But let's think about this. You can't have the manufacturing jobs until what? Until the plants get built. We got $19 trillion. Let me say that one more time. $19 trillion of investment promised to come into this country. Now, construction is going to boom in the short run, but we're not going to see the manufacturing jobs until that capacity gets built. So it'll be 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, 18 months. But what we're doing is setting the stage for the construction of a beautiful addition to our manufacturing base. And by the way, like, this is how smart, not me, but we are as an administration. It's like when we're cutting these trade deals and Japan's offering to invest here in America, that money, you know how we're going to use that money? That money is specifically targeted at vulnerabilities in our supply chain. Think about that. That's exactly what we need to be doing. So foreigners are going to be paying to fix the vulnerabilities in our domestic supply chain as part of a broader trade deal, which levels the playing field for American workers and businesses. That's a good deal. One of the central feature of the rare earth magnet problem is that every time this country has tried to develop capacity, China has come in and dumped product into the market, put them out. Mountain Pass, which we have revived, I think, for the third time now. The last time it revived and was trying to produce rare earths, China just came down and crushed it, absolutely crushed it. So, for example, as the Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said, what we're going to need to do, for example, is to provide some kind of tariff floor to defend our critical industries from strategic dumping. I mean, when China does that, it's not an accident, and it's not simply a mercantilist thing to make money. If you go back and look at their 5-year plans, and I wish that CFR had done a better job over the last 25 years doing what I did, which is to read those things, they tell you exactly what they're going to do, right? They tell you that we're going to go in and crush world competition. We're going to get control of all the mines and minerals around the world. And then once we get that position, we're going to use it not only for economic reasons, but for strategic reasons, effectively weaponizing. They tell you this, right? And we don't pay attention. So
regarding USMCA and what the plans are, and the way I would like to frame the question is based on your comment earlier that, you know, Wall Street and some corporate interests are not exactly aligned with what the administration is doing. My question to you is, what in the plans you have for USMCA will those folks see as positives and as negatives, if you will, once, you know, the actions are taken?
I'm going to let Jameson Greer and the boss handle that one. It'll be obviously a very serious, wide-ranging negotiation. One of the big concerns that I have and I've expressed is the use of Mexico as a staging area for other countries to essentially evade tariffs and leverage the USMCA tariffs. So that's going to be at least one of many issues we'll be talking about.
This is Sarah Williamson, the CEO of FCLT Global. And I think we'd all probably agree that innovation has been the driver of economic growth in this country for many decades. And the administration is now cutting and redirecting funding for scientific research, which has been the catalyst for this innovation, and is also in some cases dissuading scientists from coming to the United States. And meanwhile, China is investing heavily in innovation. So how does this align with the goals of driving the U.S. economy forward?
Look, I'll be honest. When I hear that, it just sounds like an op-ed from industry. I mean, I get it, but there's much bigger issues involved in the way universities over the last decades have used and sometimes abused government funding. And that all needs to be sorted out, as if former academic for 25 years at the University of California, now professor emeritus, I can tell you that our universities and college systems are in deep, deep trouble. They need the same kind of restructuring our trade system has undergone. They've essentially lost their way. They have no idea how to employ the people that they take tuition from. And so I think that all needs to be thought through. But again, that's not my lane. And it's been a real great pleasure to be with you today. I hope you will take my opening remarks in particular to heart. I would just ask you this question in my closing here. It's like, why did it take some obscure academic from Laguna Beach, California, beginning back in 2006 to write 3 books about China, 2 on the economy, 1 about their military buildup, that were widely panned as hyperbolic at the time, but now read exactly like a Pentagon report? Okay, why was it somebody out there doing that instead of somebody at the Council on Foreign Relations? And I think that you all need to think about what we talked about today.